Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss an important topic of Hindu Marriage Act 1955, that is divorce, which is included under section 13. We are also going to discuss the other sections that are related to the topic. So let's get into my channel, Our Indian Laws. Under section 13, there are mainly two subsections. Under subsection 1, either party, that is husband or wife, may present a petition for dissolving the marriage, and there are 7 clauses or grounds on which a petitioner may obtain a divorce. And under subsection 2, only wife can file a petition for dissolution of her marriage, and there are 4 subclauses under this subsection 2. And under subsection 1, subsection 1A introduced by the Amendment Act 1964. So let's see and learn more about these clauses. Clause 1. If the other party has had voluntary sexual intercourse with any person other than his or her spouse after the solemnization of marriage. Here, in this section, the expression adultery has not been used. And in order to bring a case, it is not necessary to show that the respondent is living in adultery, and this adultery is also a ground for judicial separation. Though offence of adultery held unconstitutional in case of Joseph Shane versus Union of India, it can be a ground for any kind of civil wrong, including dissolution of marriage. Clause 1A. If the other party has treated the petitioner with cruelty after the solemnization of marriage. Here, the term cruelty has not been defined by any statute of Indian legislature. However, our Honorable Supreme Court has critically examined the ground of cruelty in the case of Dasani versus Dasani and observed that the cruelty is of such a character as to cause in the mind of a petitioner a reasonable apprehension that will be harmful for the petitioner to live with the respondent. Here the word cruelty, of course, depends on the facts of each case. The language of the clause is comprehensive enough and includes the cases of physical and mental cruelty and cases where both the elements are present. When a physical violence is to be proved, even a single act of violence may be itself be proved if it is such a grievous. Mental cruelty has to be proved from the facts of the case. Cruelty may be inferred from the whole facts of the case and matrimonial relations of the parties and interactions in their daily life disclosed by the evidence comes under the head of mental cruelty. Clause 1B. If the other party has deserted the petitioner for a continuous period of not less than 2 years, immediately preceding the presentation of petition. So far as the deserting spouse is concerned, for the offence of desertion, 2 essential conditions must be there, that are the factum of separation and number 2, the intention to bring cohabitation permanently to an end. And similarly, 2 elements are essential so far as the deserted spouse is concerned, that are the absence of consent and number 2, the absence of conduct giving reasonable cause to the spouse leaving matrimonial home to form the necessary intention. Desertion is a continuing offence and it is not complete and remains inchoate till the presentation of petition, however long might have been the period of previous desertion. Word willful neglect is also included in the explanation, which is not defined in the Act. However, an act or omission which constitutes neglect should be deliberate, intentional and willful. Now, let us try to understand what would be the constructive desertion. It is a well-established principle that proof of factum of separation does not consist merely in ascertainment of which party left the home first. A spouse may be guilty of misconduct that would render the continuance of matrimonial relations so unbearable that the other party feels compelled to leave the matrimonial home, and in such a case, it is the former and not the latter who is a deserter. So, In case of a constructive desertion, there must be proof of both the essential ingredients of factum and animus desidendi on the part of offending spouse. Clause 2. If the other party has ceased to be a Hindu by conversion. The term Hindu in this clause must be understood in accordance with the section 2 of this act, which includes all Hindus, Buddhists, Jainas, and Sikhs. Conversion in the present context implies that the person has voluntarily relinquished his religion and adopted another religion after formal ceremonial conversion. Clause 3. If the other party has incurably of unsound or suffering from mental disorder. The unsoundness of mind must be incurable, though it is necessary it should have been present for any particular period before the presentation of petition. Such other party has been suffering from mental disorder continuously or intermittently, which is of such an extent that the petitioner cannot reasonably be expected to live with the respondent. Clause 4. If the other party has been suffering from incurable and virulent leprosy. Here, court has to satisfy on the question whether leprosy from which the respondent suffers is both of a virulent form and incurable. Clause 5. If the other party has been suffering from venereal diseases in a communicable form, then the petitioner may obtain a decree of divorce on presentation of petition. Clause 6. If the other party has renounced the world by entering any religious order. A person may not be said to have adopted a religious order by merely declaring himself to belong to such an order. He must have performed the requisite ceremonies and formalities of the particular religious order. According to this clause, renunciation of the world by entering into a religious order must be unequivocal and absolute. Clause 7. If the other party has not been heard of as been alive for a period of 7 years. It is a rule of presumption that in the absence of evidence to the contrary, a person shall be taken to be dead if he has not been heard of for a period of 7 years or more by those persons who would naturally have heard of him that he has been alive. Section 108 of Indian Evidence Act 1872 also lays this presumption as a distinct rule. Subsection 1a. There are two clauses under subsection 1a of section 13. Clause 1. If there has been no resumption of cohabitation between the parties to the marriage for a period of 1 year or upwards after passing the decree for judicial separation, then either party to the marriage, whether such marriage has been solemnized before or after the commencement of this act, may also present a petition for the dissolution of the marriage by decree of divorce. Clause 2 of subsection 1a. If there has been no restitution of conjugal rights between the parties to the marriage for a period of 1 year or more after passing the decree for restitution of conjugal rights, then either party to the marriage, whether it is solemnized before or after the commencement of this act, may also present a petition for dissolution of such marriage. Under subsection 2 of section 13, a wife may also present a petition for the dissolution of her marriage by decree of divorce on the following grounds. Clause 1. In case of any marriage solemnized before the commencement of this act, that the husband married again before such commencement, and the other wife of such husband was alive at the time of solemnization of marriage of the petitioner. Clause 2. A wife can seek divorce on the ground that the husband has, since the solemnization of marriage, been guilty of rape, sodomy, or bestiality. Clause 3 provides an additional ground to the wife to seek divorce if a period of 1 year has been elapsed after passing an order or decree awarding maintenance to the wife under Section 18 of Hindu Adoptions and Maintenance Act 1956 or under Section 125 of Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, and there has not been any reconciliation between the parties during that period. Clause 4 provides right of repudiation. This clause was added by amending Act 1976 and it confers a right of repudiation on the girls who have married before the age of 15. However, such right must be exercised before attaining the age of 18. The court may also provide alternative relief in divorce proceedings under Section 13A. In respect of the grounds mentioned in Clause 2, 6, and 7, the court would grant relief by way of divorce if the court is satisfied that the grounds are fully established, and in respect of other grounds, the court has a discretion to grant a decree for judicial separation. Section 13b speaks about divorce by mutual consent. Whether a marriage was solemnized before or after the commencement of the Amending Act 1976, a petition for divorce by mutual consent must be presented to the court jointly by both the parties on the ground that they have been living separately for a period of 1 year or more and they are unable to live together and they have mutually agreed that the marriage should be dissolved. Under this section, the granting of a decree is not a matter of discretion with the court, but the court shall pass a decree subject to the provisions of the Act and after following the procedure and in the manner subscribed by subsection 2. They are both the parties must apply to the court not earlier than 6 months of the presentation of the petition and not later than 18 months after that date that the petition may be heard and decree dissolving the marriage may be granted. The court must give a hearing to the parties, and the court may also make such inquiry into the correctness of the grounds set out in subsection 1. The motion before the court for hearing of the petition should also be by both the parties. The court will not proceed to do so unless both the parties at that stage want that marriage should be dissolved. A petition for divorce by mutual consent cannot be preferred under Section 13 of this Act. Section 14 is an important section that speaks about no petition for divorce to be presented within 1 year of marriage. The general rule enacting in subsection 1 of Section 14 is that no petition for a decree of divorce under any of the grounds mentioned in Section 13 can be entertained by the court till the period of 1 year laid down by this section. But the proviso and subsection 2 deals with the matter of considerable importance. The proviso of this subsection enables the court in exercise of its discretion to grant leave to present such petition before the expiry of 1 year's limit in case of exceptional hardship to the petitioner or exceptional depravity of the respondent. Apart from exceptional cases falling under the proviso, the court would have no jurisdiction to entertain any such petition before the statutory period has been expired. The procedure relating to the application for special leave to present such petition is to be regulated by the rules made by the High Court in that behalf. If it appears to the court at the hearing of the petition that the leave had been obtained by misrepresentation or concealment of the true nature of the case, then the court may, although pass a decree for divorce, suspend the operation of decree by adding a condition that it shall not operate until the expiry of 1 year from the date of marriage. And the court may also dismiss the petition for divorce, in which case a petition may be brought on the same grounds after the expiration of that period. Under subsection 2 of Section 14, the court shall have regard to the interest of any children of the marriage and to the question whether there is a reasonable probability of a reconciliation between the parties before the expiration of 1 year. Section 15. When the divorced persons may marry again. When a marriage has been dissolved by a decree of divorce and either party, there is no right of appeal against the decree, or if there is such a right of appeal and the time for such appealing has been expired without an appeal have been presented, or an appeal has been presented but has been dismissed, then it shall be lawful for either party to the marriage to marry again. It is important that this Section 15 must be read with Section 28 of this Act, which provides for an appeal against a decree for dissolution of marriage. The effect of the rule laid down in this section is that the conditions stated in it must be fulfilled before a lawful marriage can take place after a decree for dissolution of such marriage. So that is all about Section 13, 13A, 13B, 14 and 15 of Hindu Marriage Act 1955. And if you like my video, please comment, share and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.